Success rarely arrives with fireworks. It doesn't usually begin with a life-changing opportunity, a burst of motivation, or one bold decision that transforms everything overnight. More often, it starts with habits so small they seem almost too ordinary to matter. The strange thing is that most people ignore these habits because they don't look impressive. We admire the finished results, the promotion, the thriving business, the healthy lifestyle, but we rarely notice the quiet routines that built them. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to keep moving forward while everyone else stays stuck in the same place, the answer probably isn't talent or luck. It's the tiny things they choose to do every single day, especially on the days they don't feel like doing them. Most people think successful people have stronger willpower. They imagine that disciplined people simply wake up every morning feeling motivated while everyone else struggles. Psychology tells a different story. Your brain is designed to save energy. It naturally avoids difficult tasks and searches for the easiest path available. That's why motivation feels unreliable. It comes and goes because it's based on emotion, and emotions constantly change. The people who consistently succeed don't rely on motivation. Instead, they build habits that remove the need to make the same decision over and over again. They make good choices easier than bad ones. They understand that every repeated action teaches the brain something about who they are. Over time, those small actions become part of their identity. Eventually, they no longer force themselves to do the right thing, because it simply feels like what they do. Here are 5 tiny habits that quietly separate successful people from everyone else. Habit 1. Start before you feel ready. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they need to feel motivated before they begin. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect Monday, or the perfect moment. The problem is that perfect moments rarely arrive. Successful people know something most people don't. Action creates motivation far more often than motivation creates action. Once you start moving, your brain begins adapting to the task. The resistance that felt overwhelming a few minutes earlier suddenly becomes manageable. That's why many productive people use what psychologists call lowering the activation energy. Instead of telling themselves they'll work for an hour, they promise to work for just 2 minutes. Reading one page feels easier than reading a chapter. Writing one sentence feels easier than writing an essay. The goal isn't to finish. The goal is simply to begin, because beginning is almost always the hardest part. Habit 2. Make tomorrow easier than today. Most people finish their work, close everything, and promise themselves they'll start fresh tomorrow. Successful people think differently. Before they stop working, they prepare their environment for the next day. They leave the notebook open to the next page. They place their workout clothes beside the bed. They write down the first task they'll complete tomorrow morning. These tiny actions may only take a minute, but they remove friction. Human behavior is heavily influenced by convenience. If something is easy to start, you're far more likely to follow through. If every task requires extra effort just to begin, your brain will naturally look for something easier. Success often comes from making good decisions effortless, instead of depending on self-control every single day. Habit 3. Protect your attention like it's your most valuable asset. Most people lose control of their day within minutes of waking up. They check notifications, scroll through social media, reply to messages, and consume other people's priorities before they've even thought about their own. Attention works like money. Once you spend it, you can't get it back. Successful people understand that their best thinking happens before the world starts demanding their attention. Even spending the first 15 minutes of the morning in silence can change the entire direction of your day. Instead of immediately consuming information, they create something first. They think, plan, write, or simply sit with their thoughts. By protecting their attention early, they become far less reactive throughout the rest of the day. Habit 4. Keep small promises to yourself. People often believe confidence comes from achievements. In reality, confidence usually grows from trust, and trust begins with keeping small promises to yourself. When you tell yourself you'll read 10 pages and you actually do it, your brain notices. When you promise to go for a short walk, drink more water, or finish one important task before lunch and then follow through, you're building evidence that you're reliable. The opposite is also true. Every broken promise quietly teaches your brain that your own words don't mean much. Over time, this weakens self-belief. Successful people understand that even the smallest commitments matter, because they shape the relationship they have with themselves. Habit 5. End every day by looking for progress. Many people end their day thinking about everything they didn't finish. They replay mistakes, missed opportunities, and unfinished tasks until they feel like they're falling behind. Successful people ask a different question. Instead of asking, "What did I fail to do today?" they ask, "What went well today?" or "What's one thing I improved?" This simple habit changes what your brain pays attention to. The human mind naturally focuses on problems, because that's how it evolved, to keep us safe. But when you intentionally search for progress, you begin training your brain to recognize growth, instead of constantly chasing perfection. Small improvements may not feel exciting today, but they compound over weeks, months, and years. Looking for progress keeps you moving forward without becoming discouraged by how far you still have to go. The biggest difference between successful people and everyone else usually isn't intelligence, talent, or even opportunity. It's consistency. While most people search for dramatic breakthroughs, successful people quietly repeat ordinary behaviors until they produce extraordinary results. None of these habits are difficult on their own. Starting for 2 minutes sounds almost too easy. Preparing your desk for tomorrow takes less than a minute. Protecting your attention, keeping small promises, and recognizing daily progress don't require special skills or expensive tools. But together, they change something much deeper than your schedule. They change your identity. Every small habit sends your brain a message about the kind of person you believe you are. The more often you repeat those behaviors, the stronger that identity becomes. Eventually, success stops feeling like something you're trying to achieve and starts feeling like the natural result of the person you've become. Because in the end, successful people aren't separated by one massive decision. They're separated by hundreds of tiny decisions that nobody notices until the results become impossible to ignore.